Earlier this week, the NBA world was abuzz when James Harden, at an event in China, said that Sixers president Daryl Morey, quote, is a liar and that I will never be part of an organization he is a part of, end quote. And then, in case you didn't hear him the first time, he said it again. We know the star point guard wants out of Philly, so who is to blame in this Harden versus Sixers beef? Let's discuss with a columnist, anchor, and associate producer for CBS Sports Radio. It's my guy, Jack Stern, who joins me now. Jack, how you doing? I hope you're not beefing with anybody. I don't think you are. You're not beefing with anybody, right?
No, me beefing with someone? I would never beef with anyone over anything. I'm doing well, except for the fact that the Yankees are losing 4-0 to the Red Sox once again. Season continues to spiral downwards. Fortunately, it's not that much better for Mets fans, but the good news is that we're getting closer to football and, more importantly, basketball season, so we can kind of try and turn our attention towards that.
There we go. Well, hopefully we're going to have a conversation about the NBA, and hopefully it makes people a little bit happier than some of the baseball here in New York City. But, Jack, let's talk about this. The Sixers, they've attempted to trade Harden this summer, and reportedly Harden's preferred destination was the Clippers. Philadelphia informed Harden that they hadn't found a suitable trade with L.A., and they expected him to report to training camp in September. Now, critics are going to say that this is Harden's third trade request in 3 years. Each trade request has been different, but is Harden's act growing tired here?
Oh, it's absolutely growing tired. When you look at the common denominator between all three of his trade requests, the one commonality is that he's the problem at hand. And the teams that he's played for thus far in his career have given him all of the resources to succeed, right? In Houston, he had Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook. With Brooklyn, he was paired with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. Philadelphia, he was with an MVP and Joel Embiid, yet he keeps trying to force his way out of town time and time again. When he's on the court, there's no question he has a ton of talent, right? He led the league in scoring from 2017 to 2020. He's one of the best scorers of the basketball of the past decade. But the fact of the matter is he's been an issue everywhere he's been. He's been unable to get along with his teammates. He's been a little bit of a ball hog in the playoffs. And for those reasons specifically, he's the one to blame for this situation.
All right, so you got the blame on him there. But let's look at the other side here with Daryl Morey. He's traded for Harden twice in his career. And now, despite the guard exercising his $35.6 million option for the upcoming season back in June, Harden could arrive at training camp next month, and he could not be all in, Jack, with the Sixers. Morey's known to get the best deal for the organization, but could he be adding to the drama by creating what could be a tense training camp for the Sixers this fall?
There's no question that both Daryl Morey and James Harden have added fuel to the fire in the situation. But if this Sixers team does not feel a ton of pressure to succeed this year, then something is wrong. They were embarrassed in the Eastern Conference semifinals in Game 7 by the Boston Celtics a year ago. There are massive expectations with this team that thus far they have not met. They have Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, a solid bench, yet they've consistently underachieved. So how can you realistically blame Morey or Harden for trying to turn the heat up a little bit? Now, if there's a situation that ensues where Harden tries to force his way out of town once he reports to training camp, something he's done in the past. Remember, he was traded 8 games into the regular season a few years ago, so it's not like this is uncommon in the NBA. But if he continues to be an issue for this team, I could see a scenario where they really struggle. Remember, they got their last head coach, Doc Rivers, essentially fired because they were unable to get over the hump. Nick Nurse is pretty much the last hope for this current group to win anything special. And you just don't want a situation to ensue where Harden and the other players on the team are constantly in conflict with each other, because that's not going to lead anyone to success. Remember, this was the same organization that had a huge issue with Ben Simmons a couple of years ago as well. Controversy finds a way to kind of hang over this team like a dark cloud on a rainy day. And you just hope that somehow, some way, they put their differences aside to prioritize winning, because thus far that has not happened.
Yeah, that has not happened at all. And you thinking about all the things that you just said, you wonder how this impacts Joel Embiid, who's got to be watching this and saying, man, this looks kind of crazy. All right, so we've looked at both of the frustrations of Harden and Morey here. But here's the money question. You wrote about this in an article on Odyssey.com. Who is to blame here, Jack? Is it the player? Is it the team president? Or is the answer both, and why?
Well, it's funny. I think that the answer is both. You know, every relationship, every marriage has its issues. But for some reason, Morey and Harden are in a little bit of a weird relationship where they're drawn to one another. Remember, Harden forced his way out of town in Houston because both Morey and head coach Mike D'Antonio were fired back in 2020. So there's some comfortability there between Harden and Morey, but at the end of the day, they're just not able to click and get along. I also believe that losing contributes to this issue. Had the Sixers advanced further in the postseason last year, if they made the finals, I don't know if there would be the same rift. The old saying that winning cures all problems rings true. Unfortunately, the Sixers have not won games when it's mattered most, and that's why the problems have kind of bubbled to the surface a little bit more. I'm blaming Daryl Morey for doing a bad job in keeping his superstars content, but I'm also blaming James Harden because he continues to persistently push his worst personality traits forward. The guy's 33 years old. 1 week from today, on August 26th, he will be celebrating his 34th birthday. I do not want to see him at nightclubs in Las Vegas between playoff series. I don't want to see him pouting on the court or quitting on his teammates, something that he's done on a pretty consistent basis. And if he's ever going to win a championship, which for a player of his caliber should be the goal because he's too good to finish his career without one, he's going to have to shut up and stop being a prima donna in these types of situations and start being a leader on the court because he has not done that.
It's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. There's blame to go around. You're hearing that from Jack Stern. He's a columnist, anchor, associate producer for CBS Sports Radio. Check out his article on Odyssey.com about the beef between James Harden and Daryl Morey. No beef between myself and Jack. That's not going to happen. We just have beef with some New York sports baseball teams that haven't been good. That's Jack's beef right now. That is all about it. Jack, always good to talk to you. Glad to have you on. Thanks for doing this again. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dexter. Hopefully the tides turn, right? I know that the Yankees and the Mets are probably not going to be making a run at the postseason at this point, but maybe they can win a couple games to give us just a little bit more confidence before it's all said and done, and we have to get to the doldrums of the winter before we get to watch another baseball game at the end of March.
That would be nice, and that'd be no beef. So I have no beef with that at all. Thank you, Jack. Appreciate it, man.